Claire Warren stared at her glowing screen, the only light left in a room where dreams and deadlines collided. For 3 months, she had worked on Hawkline, an AI-based supply chain solution for defense contractors. 3 months of sleepless nights, endless calculations, and brilliant coding. 3 months that could bring in $20 million to Halberton and West, the consulting firm where she worked as a senior product strategist. "This is it," she whispered, saving the final presentation. Claire checked her watch. 7:30 a.m. In exactly 4 hours, she would present Hawkline to Celion Technologies, the biggest defense contractor in the country. Her hands trembled with excitement as she printed the deck. This was not just a pitch. It was her future. Her phone buzzed. Graham Sinclair, her boss. "My office now." Claire grabbed her presentation and rushed upstairs. Graham, a partner who had not had an original idea in 5 years, looked up with that smile she had grown to distrust. "You ready for the big pitch?" he asked. "Beyond ready," Claire replied, handing him a copy. "I have triple-checked everything." Graham flipped through it slowly. "Impressive work, Claire." But something in his eyes made her stomach drop. "Let us polish this for the pitch," Graham said, placing the presentation on his desk. "I will take lead, you back me up." Claire nodded, though her instincts screamed caution. Graham had never shown much interest in Hawkline until now. For months, he barely asked about her progress. "I created a special section about how the system's routing logic is based on the 1962 Hawk supply line in Alaska," Claire explained. "It is where the name came from." Hawkline. Graham's eyebrows raised. "Clever." Back at her desk, Claire prepared her notes. The Celion pitch was career-defining. As the creator of Hawkline, she would finally get the recognition she deserved, maybe even a promotion. At 10:55 a.m., Claire gathered her things. The meeting was at 11 a.m. She headed for the conference room when her phone buzzed again. A text from Graham. "Change of plans. You are not needed in the room. Wait outside. I will handle this one." Claire stopped dead in her tracks. Not needed. Her project. Her idea. Her future. Before she could respond, Graham walked past her toward the conference room with her presentation under his arm. Claire watched in disbelief as Graham greeted the Celion executives with confident handshakes. Through the glass walls, she saw him setting up the presentation. Her presentation. "This cannot be happening," she whispered. The conference room monitor flickered to life. Claire squinted at the first slide and gasped. The title read SkyRoute. Next Generation Defense Logistics. Hawkline was gone. Completely erased. Claire pressed her ear against the door, listening as Graham's voice boomed with authority. "I developed this system after studying military supply chains for years," he said. "The innovation comes from a deep understanding of autonomous routing systems." Her innovation. Her understanding. Her years of study. Claire's hands curled into fists as Graham continued, flipping through slide after slide of her work. He had changed the module names, tweaked a few graphics, but everything else, the data, the algorithms, the projections, was hers. And the junior support team, Graham was saying, did an adequate job with the technical paperwork. Junior support. Claire was the entire team. The Celion CEO nodded approvingly. "Genius. Graham. You have outdone yourself." Claire backed away from the door, her mind racing. The meeting ended with handshakes and smiles. The Celion team left through another exit while Graham emerged from the conference room beaming. "They loved it," he announced when he spotted Claire. "SkyRoute is a hit." "SkyRoute." Claire's voice was ice. "That is Hawkline. My project." Graham's smile did not falter. "Do not be dramatic, Claire. You are young. You will have other ideas. Let this one make the firm some money." "You stole my work," she said, keeping her voice low but firm. "You removed my name completely." Graham leaned closer. "Prove it." "You developed it under the firm's resources, on company time, using company data." "I'm going to human resources," Claire threatened. Graham laughed. "I am a partner, Claire. Who do you think they will believe? Now be a team player and help me with the follow-up materials." He walked away, leaving Claire standing alone in the hallway, the weight of the betrayal crushing her chest. But something inside her shifted. The shock was turning to determination. Claire sat at her desk, appearing calm despite the storm inside her. She opened her laptop and began a methodical search through her files. Every email about Hawkline, every saved draft, every meeting invite, every voice memo she had recorded during development. She created a new encrypted folder named Insurance and filled it with evidence. The timestamp on her original Hawkline proposal, 3 months ago. Email threads showing her updates to the project. Voice recordings of meetings where she explained the concept to colleagues. Her original intellectual property registration with the Patent Office, filed as a precaution. Claire was thorough, downloading everything to a secure cloud account, separate from the company servers. She knew better than to leave her evidence where Graham could delete it. While searching, she found an audio recording from 2 months ago. A meeting where Graham had asked, "What the hell is a Hawkline anyway?" His voice, his confusion, preserved forever. Proof he had not created it. Claire smiled for the first time that day. Then she reached for her phone. There was one person who might help. Someone who was not afraid of men like Graham. "Dr. Grant, it is Claire Warren," she said when her former mentor answered the phone. Dr. Evelyn Grant had been Claire's advisor in graduate school before retiring to become a private consultant. What Graham did not know was that Evelyn now consulted for Celian Technologies. "Claire, wonderful to hear from you," Evelyn replied. "How is consulting life treating you?" Claire kept her voice steady. "I need your advice. Confidentially." 20 minutes later, Evelyn had heard the whole story. There was a long pause after Claire finished. "Send me 3 files," Evelyn finally said. "Your original intellectual property registration. That audio recording of Graham asking about the name. And your original proposal with the timestamp. What will you do with them?" Claire asked. "Nothing yet. But Celian should know who they are really doing business with." Claire hesitated. This could blow up her career if it backfired. "Trust me," Evelyn said softly. "I know Jonathan Keller personally. He values integrity." Claire Iyer sent the files, then deleted the email thread from her sent folder. Evidence without a trace. An hour later, her phone buzzed with a text from Evelyn. "Jonathan Keller wants to meet." Quietly. The coffee shop was small and far from both Halberton and Celian offices. Claire arrived early, choosing a table in the back corner. Jonathan Keller entered precisely at 7:30 a.m., tall and distinguished in a simple black coat. He ordered before joining her. "Dr. Grant speaks highly of you," he began, stirring his coffee. "Says you are one of the brightest minds she has ever taught." Claire nodded. "She has been a wonderful mentor. I reviewed the files you sent her," Keller continued, his expression neutral. "Interesting material." Claire felt her pulse quicken but kept her face calm. "I did not want to make accusations. I just wanted the truth to be known." "I appreciate that approach," Keller said. "Most people would storm in screaming theft. Why did you not?" Claire chose her words carefully. "Because this is not about Graham. It is about Hawkline. The system I created deserves to exist properly, regardless of who gets credit." Keller studied her. "What would you like me to do, Miss Warren?" "Nothing dramatic," Claire said. "Just ask one question when the time comes. Ask about the name Hawkline, and check your internal intellectual property logs." Keller smiled slightly. "Subtle. Like it." He stood to leave. "We will be in touch, Miss Warren." Claire watched him go, wondering if she had just saved her creation or destroyed her career. Weeks passed. Claire continued her work at Halberton as if nothing had happened. Graham seemed to have forgotten their confrontation, focusing entirely on the Celian contract. "Final meeting next week," he announced during a team call. "We are closing the $20 million deal. Celian loves SkyRoute." Claire said nothing but noticed Graham never met her eyes anymore. The day before the final contract meeting, Graham called her. "I need you there tomorrow," he said, not asking but telling. Claire kept her voice neutral. "For what purpose?" "Technical backup, in case they have questions I cannot answer." I thought I was just junior support, she replied coolly. Graham sighed. Do not be difficult, Claire. This is a huge opportunity for the firm. I will be there, she promised. The next morning, Claire arrived at Cylon headquarters and was surprised to find her visitor badge waiting. Graham looked uncomfortable when he saw her walk into the preparation room. Stay quiet unless specifically asked something technical, he instructed, not sharing the presentation file with her. Claire nodded, noticing the file was password protected. Graham did not want her accessing it. She took a seat at the side of the conference room, notepad ready, appearing every bit the supportive team member. The meeting began smoothly. Graham was in his element, confidently guiding the Cylon executives through his innovation. SkyRoute will revolutionize defense logistics, he declared. The autonomous routing system adapts to any supply chain disruption within seconds. Claire fought to keep her expression neutral as Graham explained algorithms she had developed, presented data she had analyzed, and claimed breakthroughs she had achieved. He was nearing the end of his presentation when Jonathan Keller, who had been quietly observing, raised his hand. Before we sign, Keller said casually, I have one question. Graham smiled. Course. Where did the name Hawkline come from? The room fell silent. Graham's smile faltered. The name, he stammered. We have rebranded it as SkyRoute, as you can see. Yes, but it was originally called Hawkline, Keller pressed. I am curious about the origin of that name. Graham looked flustered. It was just a working title. Not significant. Keller turned to Claire. Miss Warren, any insights? Without hesitation, Claire spoke clearly. It is named after the 1962 Hawk supply line in Alaska, a Cold War logistics route where only autonomous carriers survive the harsh conditions. The system's routing logic is based on that historical model. The room was silent again. Then Keller nodded. Impressive. That is exactly the story we were told by someone else. Graham turned pale. The tension in the room was unbearable. Graham attempted to regain control. Yes, that is correct, he said quickly. Claire helped with research details. Team effort. Keller's expression remained neutral. Course. The meeting continued, but the energy had shifted. The Cylon executives exchanged glances. Graham rushed through the remaining slides, his earlier confidence evaporating. After the presentations, Keller stood and shook Graham's hand. We will be in touch about the contract. Thank you for coming. Outside the conference room, Graham cornered Claire by the elevators. What game are you playing? He hissed. Claire met his gaze steadily. Worse, just better. You think you are clever. This is my deal. My project. Now stay in your lane. Claire stepped into the elevator. We will see. Back at Halberton, Graham called an emergency meeting with the executive team. Claire was not invited, but she could see them through the glass walls. Graham gesturing frantically. The other partners looking concerned. Later, one of the junior analysts stopped by her desk. What happened at Cylon? He whispered. Graham's been in panic mode since you got back. Claire smiled slightly. Just a question about names. 3 days later, Claire's phone rang. An unknown number. Miss Warren, this is Cylon Technologies. Mr. Keller would like to see you privately. Claire sat in Cylon's executive waiting area, heart racing. Was she about to be blacklisted from the industry for speaking up, or was this something else entirely? Jonathan Keller greeted her personally, leading her to his office with a corner view of the city. Thank you for coming, Miss Warren, he said, closing the door. What I am about to show you is confidential. He placed a thick folder on the desk. Inside were copies of all the files she had sent through Evelyn, plus others Claire had not seen before. The complete intellectual property trail. Internal logs showing when the files were created. Emails within Halberton discussing her work on Hawkline. Our legal team has been busy, Keller explained. The evidence is quite clear about who created Hawkline. Claire held her breath. And we want you to lead the project from our end. Claire blinked, certain she had misheard. I'm sorry. Partner-level position. 7-figure salary. Full intellectual property credit. Keller slid another document toward her. We are offering you the chance to build what you created. Properly recognized. Properly funded. Claire's hands trembled as she scanned the offer letter. But what about the contract with Halberton, she asked. Keller's smile was slight. We are pulling it. He handed her another document. A contract termination letter for Halberton and West. This has not been sent yet, he continued. But we need one thing from you first. What is that? Would you like to be the one to tell Graham? Claire stared at the termination letter, processing what Keller was offering. Not just a job but justice. Not just recognition but revenge. You would let me deliver this, she asked carefully. Keller nodded. We thought it appropriate. But there is no pressure. Our legal team can handle it. Claire considered the option. A quiet end would not change Graham or Halberton. They would just find another talent to exploit. I will do it, she said finally. Excellent. Keller slipped the letter into a manila envelope. When you are ready to sign with us, the offer stands. Back at Halberton, Claire requested a meeting with Graham for the next morning. Final handover of Sky Route materials, she explained to his assistant. That night, Claire prepared her resignation letter and packed her personal belongings. 10 years at Halberton reduced to one small box. The next morning she arrived early, placed the box in her car, and walked into the building one last time. Graham was waiting in the conference room, looking smug. Ready to fill me in on all the technical details, he asked. The contract is almost finalized. Claire calmly slid the manila envelope across the table. What is this? Graham asked. See for yourself. Graham opened it. Inside, her resignation letter. A copy of her new title at Cylon. And the contract termination letter from Cylon to Halberton's legal team. They would rather build Hawkline with the person who created it, Claire said quietly. This is just a courtesy call. Graham's face drained of color as he read each document. His hands shook, causing the papers to rustle. You cannot do this, he whispered. Then louder. You cannot do this. Claire stood calmly. It is already done. This is corporate espionage. Poaching. I will sue you. I will sue Cylon. This was my deal. Claire straightened her blazer. Was it? The evidence says otherwise. She moved toward the door, then paused. Next time, put your name on your own ideas. The conference room door closed behind her with a soft click. Claire walked through the office for the last time, head high. A few colleagues nodded at her, unaware of what had just happened. As she reached the elevator, her phone buzzed with an email notification. Halberton's whistleblower inbox had received an anonymous tip about a partner using staff intellectual property as his own. The compliance team was beginning an internal audit. Claire had not sent it. Perhaps someone else had noticed Graham's patterns over the years. By afternoon, rumors were flying. Claire received a screenshot from a former colleague. A defense industry blog was asking questions about why the creator of Hawkline had suddenly left Halberton. Her phone rang. It was Evelyn. Congratulations on the new position, her mentor said. Though I had nothing to do with the leak about Graham. Course not, Claire replied, smiling. Claire started at Cylon the following Monday. Her new office had a nameplate that read Claire Iyer Warren, Chief Innovation Officer, Hawkline Division. She spent her first week building her team, setting up processes, and recovering the original vision of Hawkline from the distortions Graham had introduced. Meanwhile, Graham was fighting for his reputation. He told anyone who would listen that Claire had misused firm resources and stolen his concept. But the evidence kept stacking against him. The intellectual property timestamps predated any Halberton involvement. The audio recording of him asking about the name Hawkline circulated quietly among partners. By her second week at Cylon, Claire heard that human resources at Halberton had quietly pulled Graham's access to major projects. His email signature no longer included lead innovation partner. In a bold move, Graham emailed Claire directly. You are making a mistake turning this into a personal vendetta. We were colleagues. I gave you opportunities. Claire did not respond. Her focus was on Hawkline now. The real Hawkline. When a defense industry reporter called for comment about the controversy, Claire simply said, "There is no controversy. The facts and the timestamps speak for themselves. I'm focused on building Hawkline properly now." The reporter published the quote alongside Graham's accusations. The contrast between their responses spoke volumes. A month into her new role, Claire received an unexpected visitor. Maria Chen, her former intern at Halberton. "I had to see you," Maria said when Claire welcomed her. "Things are crazy back there." "What is happening?" Claire asked, offering her a seat. Maria leaned forward. "Graham tried to blame me for the leak. Said I was acting on your behalf by sending company materials to competitors. He got me demoted to data entry." Claire frowned. "That is ridiculous. You had nothing to do with any of this." "I know," Maria sighed. "But I am just an intern. It is my word against a partner's." Claire studied the young woman who had helped with many late nights on Hawkline. Maria was brilliant, hardworking, and did not deserve this collateral damage. "How would you like a real job?" Claire asked. "Junior systems analyst. Triple what Halberton pays interns." Maria's eyes widened. "Are you serious? We are rebuilding with the right people." Claire handed her a card with Cylon's Human Resources Director's contact information. "Send your resume today." After Maria left, Claire stared out her office window, which had a clear view of Halberton's building across the city. She had not intended to poach talent. But if Graham was going to punish innocent people, perhaps they deserved better options. By week's end, Maria had a new job. And she was not the last to make the switch. Over the next 2 months, Claire built Hawkline into everything she had envisioned. The team expanded from 15 to 30, with a surprising number of applications coming from Halberton employees. "I saw what happened with Hawkline," one senior engineer told her during an interview. "If you could stand up to Graham Sinclair, this must be a place where good ideas are respected." Claire never spoke negatively about her former employer, but her story had become something of a legend in the industry. Quiet revolution. The girl who did not shout, did not sue, did not tweet, but won anyway. When the National Defense Logistics Summit announced its speaker lineup, Claire was shocked to see her name on the main stage. The topic: Innovation Protection in Defense Contracting. Graham, who had spoken at the summit for 5 consecutive years, was not on the list. 2 days before the summit, Claire received a LinkedIn message from an unfamiliar name. A Halberton board member. "The firm is conducting a full review of partner conduct," it read. "If you are willing to share your experience confidentially, we would appreciate it." Claire Eyre responded tactfully, providing only verifiable facts. No emotions. No accusations. That same day, Graham was placed on administrative leave, quietly, without public announcement. But industry insiders noticed when his profile disappeared from Halberton's leadership page. The Defense Summit was packed with industry leaders, government officials, and technology innovators. Claire felt surprisingly calm as she took the stage, notes in hand. Hawkline began as a question, she started. How do we create supply chains that are not just efficient, but adaptable enough to survive anything? For 20 minutes, she outlined the technology without mentioning Graham or the controversy. The audience was engaged, asking technical questions that Claire answered with confidence. Near the end, a question came from the back. Did you face challenges getting recognition for your innovation? The room fell silent. Everyone knew the story, but no one had dared to reference it directly. Claire paused, then smiled slightly. Hawkline was not a solo mission, but the idea had to be protected, even from within. The crowd erupted in applause. Claire spotted Keller in the front row, nodding approvingly. After her talk, a representative from a federal agency approached. We would like to discuss advisory work with you. Your perspective is uniquely valuable. That evening, Claire checked her email to find a message from Graham, sent to her personal account. Halberton is conducting a witch hunt. My career is being destroyed over a misunderstanding. Please tell them this was just a communication error. Claire closed the email without responding. There was nothing more to say. 6 months after leaving Halberton, Claire sat in Cylon's boardroom as they finalized a $40 million expansion of Hawkline into international markets. Double the original contract value. Her team had grown to 50 members, including 7 former Halberton employees who had resigned over the past months. Not because Claire recruited them, but because the culture at Halberton had shifted after Graham's actions came to light. Industry blogs were still talking. Young strategist behind Hawkline transforms defense logistics. What's next? Graham's name was nowhere. Claire's was everywhere. After the board meeting, Keller approached her. A documentary team contacted us. They want to feature your story in a piece about women in innovation. Are you interested? Claire shook her head. I would rather let the work speak for itself. Keller nodded. That is why you are perfect for this role. Later that day, Claire received a notification that Graham had been officially removed from Halberton's partnership. The announcement cited violation of firm ethics policies, without mentioning specifics. Within hours, Graham emailed her again. Can you recommend me for a board seat at Cylon? We both know I understand the industry. Claire stared at the message in disbelief. After everything, he still did not get it. Her reply was brief. You should try creating something of your own first. Almost a year to the day after Graham stole her idea, Claire stood in the Hawkline lab late at night. The team had gone home hours ago, but she wanted a moment alone with the system that had changed her life. The prototype gleamed under the soft lights. On its base, a small plaque read Hawkline. Designed by Claire Warren. Her phone buzzed. A text from Evelyn Grant. Have you seen the news? Halberton is restructuring after losing 3 major defense contracts. Claire had not been following her old firm's struggles. She had moved on completely. No, she replied. I've been focused here. Smart girl, Evelyn texted back. Never look in the rearview mirror when you are moving forward. Claire smiled. She had never been interested in watching Graham or Halberton fall. Her goal had not been revenge, but justice for herself and her creation. She ran her fingers along the Hawkline prototype, thinking of all the nights she had spent developing it, all the doubts she had pushed through, all the times Graham had dismissed her ideas, before suddenly finding them valuable enough to steal. It was worth it, she whispered to herself. Claire's phone buzzed again. This time it was Maria. Team dinner tomorrow to celebrate the expansion. Your treat, Miss Big Shot CEO. Claire laughed and typed back. Absolutely. But I am not the CEO yet. Maria's response was instant. Give it time. 2 years later, Claire sat in her expanded office at Cylon headquarters. The wall behind her desk displayed framed patents, all with her name listed as lead inventor. Hawkline had grown into a suite of products generating over 100 million annually. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts. Her assistant poked her head in. Your 2 o'clock is here, she announced. The new hire from MIT. Claire nodded. Send them in. A young woman entered, looking nervous but determined, exactly as Claire had felt at her age. Miss Warren, it is an honor to meet you, the woman said, extending her hand. Your work on Hawkline is why I specialized in logistics AI. Claire smiled. Welcome to Cylon. Tell me about your ideas. As the new recruit passionately outlined her concepts, Claire listened intently. This was the real victory. Building a place where innovation was protected and credited properly. Where the next generation could create without fear. Later that afternoon, Claire received an industry alert. Graham Sinclair had finally landed a new job at a much smaller firm in a much smaller role. She closed the notification without a second thought. He was no longer relevant to her story. That evening, Claire visited the expanded Hawkline lab, now 3 times its original size. Teams of engineers worked on next-generation improvements to her system. A maintenance worker was updating the plaque on the original prototype. It now read Hawkline. Created by Claire Warren. Built by Cylon Technologies. Changing defense logistics forever. Claire watched quietly from the doorway, thinking of how far she had come. She never screamed. Never sued. Never shouted. She simply won her way. 5 years after the Hawkline incident, Claire stood on stage accepting the National Defense Innovation Award. The crystal trophy caught the light as she approached the microphone. "Thank you for this honor," she began. "Innovation is not just about technology. It is about integrity. About creating environments where good ideas can flourish and receive proper recognition." The crowd applauded. In the front row sat her entire team, including Maria Chen, now Director of Implementation. After the ceremony, a young reporter approached. "Miss Warren, you have never publicly discussed what happened with Graham Sinclair and Halberton. Why not?" Claire considered the question. Because the story was never about him. It was about Hawkline. About creating something valuable and ensuring it reached its potential. "But do you not feel vindicated? Halberton's defense division collapsed while you built an empire." Claire shook her head. Success is not about watching others fail. It is about building something that lasts. The reporter looked disappointed with the diplomatic answer. "One last question. I heard Graham Sinclair recently applied to Cylon for a consulting position. Is that true?" Claire smiled slightly. "Our Human Resources Department handles applications. Focus on innovation." What she did not add was that Graham's application had indeed crossed her desk. She had neither approved nor rejected it. Simply returned it to Human Resources with a note. "Evaluate on current merits only." She had nothing left to prove. Not to Graham. Not to anyone. A decade after Hawkline began, Claire Eyre Warren became CEO of Cylon Technologies. The announcement made front-page news in every industry publication. The press release highlighted her journey from product strategist to chief innovator to chief executive. It mentioned Hawkline, now a billion-dollar division of the company, but made no reference to the controversy that had launched her career. On her first day as CEO, Claire found a small package on her new desk. Inside was a compass with an inscription, "Always find true north." The note read, "From someone who always knew you would navigate correctly." Dr. Evelyn Grant had passed away the previous year but had apparently arranged this final gift for when Claire reached the top. Claire placed the compass prominently on her desk. A reminder of the mentor who had helped her find justice without seeking destruction. That afternoon, in her first executive meeting, Claire announced a new company-wide initiative, the Innovation Protection Protocol, a formal system ensuring every creator received proper credit, compensation, and career advancement for their ideas. "At Cylon, we do not just build technology," she told the board. "We build legacies. And those begin with acknowledging the minds behind the innovations." The protocol passed unanimously. Claire's first act as CEO was not about profit margins or stock prices. It was about making sure no one else would have their Hawkline stolen. 15 years after Graham Sinclair tried to steal Hawkline, Claire Warren stood in the Cylon Museum, a special wing dedicated to the company's groundbreaking innovations. School groups often toured the facility, learning about the technologies that had transformed defense logistics. The Hawkline exhibit was the centerpiece, showing the evolution from Claire's first prototype to the global system it had become. A plaque told the origin story. Named after the 1962 Hawk supply line in Alaska, where only autonomous carriers survived the harsh conditions. Created by Claire Warren in 2023. No mention of the struggle to preserve its identity. No reference to theft or vindication. Just the simple truth of creation. As Claire observed a group of young girls listening to the tour guide explain Hawkline's impact, she felt a sense of completion. This was what mattered. Inspiring the next generation. One of the girls raised her hand. Did Miss Warren know she was making history when she invented this? The guide smiled. Why do you not ask her yourself? She's right there. All heads turned toward Claire, who had not expected to be recognized. The girl's eyes widened. I did not know it would change history, Claire told them, approaching the group. I just knew it was a good idea worth protecting. How did you protect it? Another girl asked. Claire thought carefully before answering. By knowing its value, by documenting my work, and by refusing to let anyone tell me what I had created was not mine. On the 20th anniversary of Hawkline's creation, a special ceremony was held at Cylon's headquarters. The system had transformed not just defense logistics, but commercial supply chains worldwide. The economic impact was measured in trillions. Claire, now executive chairwoman after stepping down as CEO the previous year, watched as a sculpture was unveiled in the company courtyard. A hawk with outstretched wings riding an invisible current, representing the way Hawkline navigated challenges. The inscription read simply, "Ideas protected and nurtured change the world." After the ceremony, a familiar face approached. Older, grayer but unmistakable. Graham Sinclair. Claire felt no anger seeing him. Time had washed away those emotions. "Congratulations," he said awkwardly. "It really did become something extraordinary." Claire nodded. "Thank you for coming. I have wanted to say something for years," Graham continued. "What I did was unforgivable. I do not expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that watching what you built with Hawkline changed how I think about innovation." Claire studied the man who had once thought he could take credit for her brilliance. He seemed smaller somehow, less threatening. "What are you doing now?" she asked. "Teaching business ethics, ironically enough." He replied with a self-deprecating smile. "Using myself as the cautionary tale." Claire could not help but appreciate the symmetry. "That sounds valuable." As Graham walked away, a reporter who had observed the exchange approached. "Was that him, the one who tried to take credit for Hawkline?" Claire shook her head. "That is ancient history. Today is about looking forward." 25 years after Claire Warren first conceptualized Hawkline, she sat alone in her home office writing her memoir. Not focused on the controversy but on innovation itself. The journey from idea to world-changing reality. Her phone rang. It was Maria, CEO of Cylon, after Claire's retirement. "The Smithsonian called," Maria said excitedly. "They want the original Hawkline prototype for their Women Innovators permanent exhibit." Claire smiled. "They should take it. It belongs in history now." After hanging up, Claire returned to her writing, reflecting on what she had learned through it all. Success had not come from exposing Graham or humiliating Halberton. It had come from protecting what was valuable, building it properly, and surrounding herself with people who valued integrity as much as innovation. The greatest revenge had not been watching Graham's fall. It had been rising so high that his actions became a footnote in her story, rather than its defining moment. Claire closed her laptop and looked at the framed photo on her desk. Her original Hawkline team standing proudly beside the prototype. They had believed in her vision when no one else had. As she prepared to send the final chapter to her publisher, Claire reflected on the question most often asked in her lectures and interviews. What would you tell someone facing a similar situation? Her answer never changed. Document everything. Know your worth. And remember that true success is not just proving them wrong. It is proving yourself right. The next morning, Claire visited Cylon to help prepare the prototype for its journey to the Smithsonian. As she carefully disconnected the original model, a memory flashed. That moment of shock, seeing Graham present her work as his own. How small that moment seemed now against the backdrop of all she had built. The Hawkline prototype would soon sit among the greatest innovations in history. Her name permanently etched into its legacy. Not because she had screamed or sued or spent years seeking vengeance, but because she had found a way to win with integrity. Claire ran her fingers across the plaque one last time, smiling at the journey that single question had launched. Where did the name Hawkline come from? It had been the right question at the right moment. The one that changed everything. And she had been ready with the answer. Claire Warren's story is a testament to the quiet strength of integrity, the enduring power of innovation, and the unmatched impact of standing firm in your truth. She did not win through revenge, noise, or confrontation, but through clarity, resilience, and relentless belief in her work. Hawkline was not just a product. It became a symbol, legacy, a message to every creator who has ever been overlooked or underestimated. If you believe ideas deserve protection, and creators deserve credit, subscribe to our channel. Where innovation is honored, and stories like Claire's remind us, Success speaks loudest when it is earned with grace. Channel, where justice is quiet, but unforgettable.